Oh, and a forward pass. Oh, he caught it. Wow. Wow. Okay. All right. So, welcome to the New Year's Day Desmond Ridder player profile video for the 2021 NFL Draft. And I waited till today because I wanted to wait until after Georgia and Cincinnati played the Peach Bowl to sort of get one last look at Desmond Ridder for this profile. And not much changed. And as a matter of fact, it probably not solidified, but reinforced some concerns that I think people have about Desmond Ridder and his game going forward as he likely prepares for the 2021 NFL Draft. So, Desmond Ridder has been a player that has been on people's radar for quite a while now. The first half of the season, not so great. Second half of the season, much better. I didn't get to watch much of him this year, but what I saw today, the tools are there. The physical traits, he has the attributes that coaches and GMs are looking for in quarterback. He's got the stature, 6'4", 215 pounds. He's got a nice live arm, but there's probably some questions about the internal clock and getting off the first read. So before we get into the scouting notes, first we'll talk about his time he spent at Cincinnati. 2018 appeared in 13 games, 62.4 completion percentage, 2,445 yards, 20 touchdowns, and then the dual threat is what makes him a little bit more exceptional than some of these other quarterbacks that are probably going to be going on day 2 and day 3. 583 yards and 5 touchdowns in that 2018 campaign. 2019, it's more of the same, but there was a bit of a drop off in the passing efficiency. 13 games, 155.1% completion percentage. 2,164 yards, 18 touchdowns, 650 yards on the ground, and 5 touchdowns in addition to the 18 passing touchdowns. So not a terrible year, but a little bit of growing pains in the sophomore season. In 2020, he's played 9 games. These statistics that I'm about to read off in this column here over my shoulder don't count the Georgia game that's down at the bottom, which you can't see because I have cut off by the by the camera. But anyway, 2020 played 9 games, 166.4 completion percentage. That's good for first in the AAC. 2,090 yards passing. That's fourth in the conference. 17 touchdowns, 609 yards on the ground. An additional 12 rushing touchdowns, which was first in the conference. Today was his last game, played against Georgia. They lost 24-21. He went 24 for 37 for 206 yards, 2 touchdowns, 15 carries for negative 17 yards. A lot of those were sacks. And it looked like the Georgia defense just had him off, especially on the ground attack. And then in the second half, the Cincinnati offense just completely broke down. They had no answer. Georgia's defense made some really good halftime adjustments. Georgia's defense is really good. It's loaded with a lot of good players that we're going to get to eventually. Jordan Davis, Tyson Campbell. We've already done a profile on Eric Stokes. But yeah, so Desmond Ridder didn't have the greatest of games. I think if he would have played much better today, there would be some more hype about him. But I think this is going to level off the focus on him for a while, which shouldn't be surprising given to where he appears on a lot of big boards around, around the draft community. Still, he's the 2020 AAC Offensive Player of the Year. On the Draft Network, he ranks number 99 amongst prospects. On Tankathon, he's number 88, which is good enough for quarterback 7. PFF has him all the way down at prospect number 179, which is good enough for quarterback 10. And I guess that's not incorrect. I think what we're probably looking at here is somewhere more of a middle ground of like pick 120 to 140, maybe even 150. And that's only because of how overvalued the quarterback position is in the league and how teams are going to be willing to overreach for quarterbacks, especially in the middle rounds. I mean, we're talking about an NFL draft that's going to have potentially Mac Jones and Kyle Trask be first-round picks, although I think Kyle Trask, his most recent performance against Oklahoma probably dropped him out of the first round. I think a lot of people are catching on that without Kyle Pitts, Kadarius Toney, and his offensive weapons, that he's more or less a Mason Rudolph, or could be more or less a Mason Rudolph in the NFL. But as far as Desmond Ridder goes, I don't think there was any potential realistically for him to be picked on day 1 or even day 2. I think we're looking at an early 4th-round pick, maybe even mid-4th-round pick. Definitely a project quarterback, but he has the physical traits that a lot of people are looking for. We mentioned the dual threat. He can extend plays with his legs. The designed rollouts are very nice. I think they take a little bit too long to develop, as we saw today against Georgia. I really like it when he throws from the pocket. He does have the strong arm. He threw an absolute rope earlier in the middle of the game to one of his receivers that was in the middle of falling down. in the vicinity of a couple defenders, and it looked like it just had a lot on it, like a lot of mustard on that pass. So there's the potential there. I think the main concern is probably his quick decision making. Like I said, the rollout plays look like they took too long to develop today against Georgia. The internal clock seems to suffer a little bit. Yes, he wasn't surrounded by his, preferred, asset of offensive players, but at the same time, those are the adjustments that you're going to have to make because everybody suffers the injury bug at the next level. And I think the next level speed is what is going to be holding him out initially from being in the discussion of being a starting quarterback in the league. He's going to have to get used to the speed at the next level of the game. But there's potential here. I think you could conservatively say, like, given his skill set, his size, his athleticism, a very low-carb, diet vegan version of Josh Allen before 2020, right? Like, if we're looking at Josh Allen coming out of Wyoming, Desmond Ridder sort of maybe comes close to that ballpark of that mold. I don't know if that's an egregious comment to make about him or as a player comp, but it's possible. Anything's possible. I mean, you look at the completion percentage. I know some people are concerned about his accuracy. I'm more concerned about just getting used to the speed of the NFL and his internal clock holding on to the ball too long. And the accuracy is always a concern. But you take a look at, that's kind of why I talk about Josh Allen. You look at Josh Allen, his early critics were pointing at his accuracy and his completion percentages. They were like, this is bad. It's never going to translate to the NFL. And lo and behold, he's having a near MVP type season this year. So there is hope, but I don't think that we're going to be hearing Desmond Ridder's name called until day 3 of the NFL draft. So that's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.